Today, here on the bottom, actually on the top of Chavdalet Amud Aleph, by the two dots where it says Nota Rubai. We're talking about a case where a person has a big backyard and he went and he planted most of it with trees. Nota Rubai Areke Chatzer. We treat it like a halacha of a front yard. Umutter, and you're allowed to carry there. This is not a karfif. An area that you plant with vegetables is a place that a person can't comfortably walk around over there. But a place that you plant with trees, so you can very comfortably walk around there and sit there under the shade of the tree. So therefore it's still considered to be an area where a person could be dwelling there, and it's mutter to carry there. Dr. Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Avimi. Avimi said, V'husha suyin it's tablois. This is only true if you plant the trees in a straight row. So then it's comfortable for a person to walk around in that area. But Rav Nachman says doesn't matter. Even if it's not planted in a row, still a person can get into that area easily, and you can sit there under the shade, and it's not considered to be a karfif. It's a regular area that a person dwells in, and you can carry there. So the Gemara brings an incident to prove what the halacha is like. Mar Yehuda ikla lebe Rav Huna bar Yehuda. He came, he visited Rav Huna bar Yehuda. Chazanu lahano de le'avidi tztabloi. He saw the trees that were planted in his backyard, and they were not planted in a straight row. The komatal tli begavayu, and it was an area that was more than Beis Hasayim. It was a large area, and they would carry them. Amalei loisaval amar lohoda avimi. Do you not agree to what Avimi said, that only if it's planted in a straight row, so then you're allowed to carry there? Amalei said, no, I don't. Ano k'Rav Nachman svirali. I hold like Rav Nachman, that even if it's not planted in a straight row, trees is an area where a person can easily walk around, and therefore it doesn't matter. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, Karfif Yoser mi Beis Hasayim. So this area of a karfif that's larger than a Beis Hasayim, Shaloi hukaf ledira, and you enclose this area not for the purpose of living there. So now you want to change the status of this area to be mater to carry there. What do you do? So what do you do? So the halacha is, if you're going to add a house that's going to be open to that area after the fact, once you already put up the fence and enclose that area, it's too late. The fence has to be made l'chatchila when a house is open to that area. So now that you already enclosed this area with a fence and you want to change the status of this area, so what are you going to do? You have to make a breach in the wall of this chatzar that's larger than 10 amas. So once you make a breach that's, if the breach is less than 10 amas or 10 amas, so then it's not treated as a breach. It's considered to be a pesach. It's just like a doorway, an opening. And the fence around the chatzar is still, it's considered to be 100% enclosed with an opening of a doorway. We only have 4 Gemaras being used over here. There should be 9 Gemaras here. Okay. So, but if he makes a pirze that's larger than 10 amas, so what happens then? Now he broke the closing. It's not enclosed properly anymore. Umamido al eser, and then you close it back up to 10 amas, then it's going to be allowed. So what did the person do? He broke it open, opens up a house to this area, and then closes it back up. So now when he closes it back up, you already had a house that was open to this area before. That changes the status of this area. Talk to Gemara.
You have the house first and then make the fence?
Yes.
That's what he should.
Yes. So in this place where he already put the fence up before he opened the house to it, is to break open the fence, more than 10 amas, then open up the house to this area, and then close it back up. So the question was asked, how about if he does as follows? Paratz ama, he makes an opening of 1 ama, v'godar ama, and then he closes it back up. Uparatz ama, he makes an opening of another ama, and v'godar, and he closes it back up. And he does that again and again, and combining all of these openings that he made together, you have more than 10 amas that he made an opening. But not all at the same time. Closed it, opened more, closed it, opened more. What's the halacha? Could we combine all of this area to the opening, or do we say no? He never had more than 10 amas open for a breacher. Amalei, so he answered him, Lav hainu detnan, isn't this what we learned in a Mishnah regarding the halacha of a keli? When a keli becomes tameh, a klicheres that is, a klicheres you can't toivel in the mikveh. What's the only way to be metayr a klicheres? Has to be broken, has to be a hole large enough that you can't use it anymore, that it's not a keli anymore. Kol kli balibatim shiyuran kirimoinim. The shear of a hole that you make in it, that it's not a keli anymore, if the hole is large enough that a rimoin, a pomegranate, will come out. And then Cheskia asked the question, Nikiv kemoitzi zayis. How about if you have a hole that's only as small as an olive? Sasmai. And then you closed up that hole. V'chazav a nikiv kemoitzi zayis, and then you have another hole that's only like a zayis. Sasmai, you close it up again. And again, it got a few holes, and each time you closed up the hole. If you combine all of these holes that it had together, it's as large as a rimain. Mahu. What's going to be the halacha? Is this considered to be a hole that's as large as a rimain, and it's not going to be a keli anymore? And Rabbi Yochanan answered Chizkiah this question. Rabbi, Shanisa Lanu, didn't you teach us the following halacha? Sandal. You have a sandal. Also, it became tameh. And this sandal, if it does not anymore have the ability to serve as a sandal, so then it's not going to be toire. It's not going to be tameh anymore. So, shenifsaka achas me oznov. One of the straps of the sandal tore. But only one strap tore. In order for it to be tied, both straps have to tear. So one strap tore, vitikna, and he fixed that strap. Tameh medris. So the tumah that it had, the tumah medris, which is a tumah of azav, it's still tameh. Nifsaka shniya vitikna. So now the second strap also tore, and you fixed it. Tahir. Since both straps tore, and you had to put on two new straps here, so then it's going to become tahir, even though they didn't tear at the same time. So tahir min medris, the tumah that it had originally from the zav, from the medris, it's going to be tahir. Aval tameh mage medris, a rishon l'tumah. It is going to still be a rishon l'tumah. And the reason is because even after it's not a sandal anymore, and you can't wear it as a sandal, as a shoe, but now it's still something that you could use for something else. It's a piece of leather that could be used for something else. So this new item that's here now touched the shoe that it was before. So at least a secondary tumah, a rishon l'tumah, it does become. But the original tumah that it has goes off. So what do you see over here? V'omret Allah. Now Chizkiah explained regarding this halacha of the sandal. Ma'ishna rishayna, the hakayma shniya, when the first strap ripped. So it's still considered to be tameh. Why? Because it still has the second strap. Shniyanami hakayma rishayna, when the second strap ripped, the first strap was fixed already. So why is it lose its tumah? If there was always one strap that was there. V'amrit lon Allah, and you explained us the pshat in this halacha, panim chadashais bo lekam. Even if both straps didn't tear at the same time, but the fact is you have to fix both straps. It's two new straps. It's like a new shoe. It's like a brand new thing. Right? So therefore, there was the shoe before, now there's a new shoe, and in between, because it's a new shoe, so whatever tumah there was on the old shoe is not there anymore. So the new shoe touches the old shoe, and therefore it becomes a rishon l'tumah, but the original tumah is not there anymore. And it's the same thing also b'negei keli. The keli that had a kazayas of a hole, another kazayas, and it's large enough that together they're a whole like a rimain, and you fixed it. So because you had to fix the keli so many times, so it's like a new keli. Consider it to be a panim chadash, it's a new keli, even though the hole wasn't one large hole together at the same time. So hachanami, going back to our halacha over here regarding the fence around the chutzner, and you have to have an opening more than 10 amas, and you didn't. You had one amma, another amma, until you combine it all together, and it's like 10 amas. Panim chadasha is ba'ol lekan. It's like a new panim chadasha is like a new. A panim chadasha is that it's like a new wall in the chutzner, and therefore it's considered to be an opening to a house. Even though he didn't open up the whole 10 amas at once, or more than 10 amas at once, but it's like a new fence that you put up, and you open the house up to this area first, and therefore it's going to be mutter to carry there. That was the comparison that he made here. Kari alei, so he said regarding this comparison, les deim bar inish. This is like a malach. Only a malach could come up with this idea. This concept is so amazing that only a malach could say this. Others say, to say something like this, you have to be a real mensch to be able to have the seichel of a adam, of a person. You have to be on the level of a bar nash to say this. Okay, interessant. I'm not sure exactly what's so unique about this comparison more than anything else. The Gemara uses this expression. We had this before in the Gemara in Shabbos. This shtickle here. And the Gemara says this svara. There is the Gemara in Shabbos that says that imar yishaynim kamalachim anu kibnei adam, imar yishaynim kibnei adam anu kechamayrim. That so he was telling him to say such a svara. You're speaking like from a previous generation, and they were compared to malachim. In contrast to us, which are only like humans, or they were like humans and we're like chamayrim. So that's the two lashonos that the Gemara brings over here. Amar Rav Kahana, Rachba sha'achorei abatim. A lot behind the house. Ein metaltalim by el b'dal damas. You can't be metaltal there, only in dal damas. So 2 points. First of all, we're talking about a lot that's too big. It's more than Beis Hasayim. And here's what Chachamim made their gzeira not to carry. And also, today, a lot behind the house has a door in the back, which is used constantly for people in the house to come and live there and whatever, use it behemshich to the house. But then, the Rachba that was Achorei Abatim did not have a door that was open in the back of the house. The door of the house was open only to the front. And the back was just used as a storage area. So, over here, Chachamim's gzeira apply not to carry. V'amar Rav Nachman im Pasach le Pesach. If you open the door from your house, not only in the front but also in the back, so you're allowed to carry in the back as well. Even though it's more than Beis Hasayim, correct? Pesach matiroi, the doorway of your house is mat to this area, but v'lo yamaron, that's only said ela shel pasach ulu b'seif hukaf. Only if he opened up the doorway of his house and only afterwards he enclosed that area. Again, this goes back to the point we said before. You can't open up a house to this area after the fact that you already enclosed the area. Only if you opened up the door before. Aval hukav lebesayf pasach loy. Fragt the Gemara, pasach or lebesayf hukav. If you opened up the door to your house to this area and then you enclosed it, pshita. Obviously, this is an area, this is like any area that you have a house open to this area. The halacha always is that it's an area that a person lives in, and it's not just like a garden or a park that people don't live there. Obviously, you're allowed to carry it. The Gzeira Chacham doesn't apply in such a case. What's the Chiddush? And it says the Gemara, Leitzriche de isbei bei dori. The Chiddush over here is that you open your door to an area where there's a beis dari, means there's a storage area where you put all your tvua there. Right? So even though you opened your door from your house into that area, but it's a storage area made for tvua. You're not really opening the door to the back lot of your house because people of the house are going to live there, are going to come there constantly. It's being opened for the purpose of the storage because you want to be able to bring in from the storage into the house. But it's the opening of the doorway is not considered to be that now you have a dwelling that's open to this area. Kamash Malon, so the Chiddush is that even though you have this back lot, which also has a storage area, nevertheless, once you have a door open, it's considered to be open to a house, and therefore you can carry there. So this area that's more than Beis Hasayim, shehukaf ledirem, that was enclosed for a direm, v'nesmala mayim, and it got filled up with water. So lechatchila was made, it was enclosed for an area for people to live there. So you're allowed to carry there. But then the whole area got filled with water. So now what's the halach of this water? So before we were speaking about an area that was made for people to live there, but then you decided to make a vegetable garden there. So the Gemara said that's a problem. People are not going to live there anymore. Then you have an area where you decided to plant trees there. Plant trees there, people are still going to go there. Now the Gemara is asking what happens if it got filled with water. So the Rabbana wanted to say, Kizrayim domu. Now that it got filled with water, so it's like an area that you planted, a vegetable garden, and people don't work for asa. It becomes asa to carry there.
Swimming pool.
Huh?
It's a swimming pool now.
Sort of. It's either like a swimming pool or it's an area that you could use the water for drinking water. As we'll see, the Gemara will say. Amalu Rav Abba. So Rav Abba said, Avua de Rav, or Achua de Rav, the brother of Rav, Berei de Rav Mesharshia, Hachi Amrinon Mishmei de Rav. It was said in the name of Rav. Mayim kinitoim domo. If your backyard became filled with water, so that's like you planted it with trees. Vishari. And you're allowed to carry in that area. Right? So, of course, we're talking in an area that most of it got filled with water, but there's still an area that you can walk around. So even though it got filled mostly with water, it's like an area that was planted with trees, and you're allowed to walk there, you're allowed to carry there on Shabbos. So the Gemara explains, Omar Meimar, V'hu dechazion l'tashmishta. This is only if the water that's there is fit for use. It's drinking water. So then, just like the trees that you can go and live and be there under the trees, you go out to your backyard and you draw water to drink from it. So that's an area that's still a dwelling for a person. But if it flooded your backyard in a way that you're not drinking from this water at all, you just can't go there. You're not going to use that area like a swamp. So then it's not fit for a person's use. Rav Ashi adds another detail. Even when it's fit for use, it depends how deep this water is. If the water is deep 10 tvachim, and that depth of 10 tvachim is as large as this space of more than beis hasayim, which is you're not allowed to carry, then it's a problem. Even if the person can use the water for drinking water, but how deep down do we consider this water to be accessible to the person to use? Up to 10 tvachim. If it's deeper, if it goes down deep 10 tvachim, and it has this area of more than beis hasayim, deep 10 tvachim, that's not an area that we consider to be that the person is using. Rashi brings over here that this is similar to what you learn in the Gemara and Shabbos, when you get to Rosh Hashanah. When you have a puddle of water in the middle of walking in Rosh Hashanah, so that's considered to be part of the Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because people will go through it. But if you have an area in the Rosh Hashanah, which is a puddle, and that puddle is deep 10 tvachim, nobody's going into a puddle that's deep 10 tvachim. People are going around it. So that area is not part of the Rosh Hashanah. So the same thing over here. If you want to say that this area is an area that people are still using the water because it's good water to drink from it, that's only if it's not deep 10 tvachim in this large sides of beis hasayim. Aval im yesh ba'imka yesem mi beis hasayim aser. If it's deep more than 10 tvachim in the depth of beis hasayim, so then it's going to be aser, because now you have an area that people are not using it. And the Gemara says, this is Rav Ashi, but v'lav milsihi. We don't paskin this way. Why not? Midi dahava akarya de peri. Similar to if a person would have in his backyard, the area that he uses, that he lives there, but he has a huge pile of fruits. Massive pile of fruits that could be very big, very tall, even 10 tvachim high. Massive pile of fruits. Is the person going to be able to access all of the fruits? No. The fruits on the outside, you can take. The fruits that are in the middle of the pile, or the fruits that are very tall, you can't access it, but it doesn't matter. The fact is that this pile of fruits, is fit for a person's eating. So therefore, it doesn't make a difference how large that pile is. It's not mevatel, the dwelling space of the area. The same thing with the water. If this is drinking water, the fact that it's very deep and you can't access the water all the way at the bottom, it doesn't matter. It's considered to be drinking water and it's a living area, so therefore it's not mevatel, the living space over here in this area. Huh? Yeah. Zog to Gemara. Hahi rochve. So there was an open area that was more than a beis hasayim, and it was not enclosed for living there. So this is an area that Chachamim were geyser that you can't carry there, which is the halacha of a Carmelis. The Havoi bepum nare the chad gisa. The Havoi bepum nare, which was in an area called Pum Nara. You know what? Before we see the Gemara inside, take a look at the picture, and then we'll read the Gemara inside. You'll see what we're talking about. Okay. This is going to be, which number picture are we at? Picture Kuf Tzadik Vov. Okay, so in the center you have a rochba, you have a big open area, and there are no houses open to it, and it's more than beis hasayim, nobody lives in it. So it's like a Carmelis, you're not allowed to carry there. And then on one side you have a mavoi. You see the mavoi on one side? And that mavoi is enclosed from all three sides. And then on the other side, you have a vineyard, but then you have a shvil. You have a pathway in between these two vineyards that goes down to a river, all the way down to a river. So this shvil is also considered to be enclosed from three sides. It has two walls on two sides, and it also has a river on the third side. That river has a drop-off of 10 tvachim, and therefore it's enclosed from all three sides. So in the shvil you could carry. Theoretically, you should be able to carry. In the mavo, you should be able to carry. And in the rochba, in this area in the middle, you can't carry. Okay? But now the problem is, this mavo, you has to have a lechi and a kaira to be allowed to carry in it, right? Like every mavo, you has to have a lechi and a kaira. And the same thing with the shvil. The shvil has to have a lechi or a kaira to be able to carry in it. So the Gemara wants to figure out how are we going to be mater to carry in this rachba.
How big is the rachba?
More than Beis Hasayim, so therefore the rachba is a problem. Once it's larger than Beis Hasayim and nobody lives there, you're not allowed to carry there. So that's the case. Let's see now in the words of the Gemara. There's this open area, rachba, or it's enclosed actually, but it's an area that's more than Beis Hasayim and nobody lives there. That was in the city of Pumnara.
It's an opening.
Huh?
An opening.
Like you see in the picture, it's enclosed from all four sides, but it has an opening to a mavoi on one side and has an opening to a shvil on the other side. The chad gisav pasiach lemasa. On one side, it's opened to the city, to a mavoi in a city. Chad gisav pasiach leshvil shel kramim. And on the other side, it's open to a pathway between vineyards. And v'shvil shel kramim, and this pathway of the vineyards, have a salik leguda denara, went all the way down to a river. So how do you, what do you do over here to be mater to carry in this area? You carry in this rachba, and once you can be once this rachba becomes a reshus hayachid, if you're going to be mater this rachba to become like a reshus hayachid, so then automatically the mavoi on one end and the shvil on the other end, you'll be allowed to carry there. The problem with the mavoi and the shvil that are on both ends of this rachba is that the rachba in the middle is not like a regular reshus hayachid. It has a halacha like a carmelist, so you're not allowed to carry 4 amas. A mavoi that's open to a carmelist, you have to put up a lechi and a kaira. If we're going to turn this rachba into a regular reshus hayachid, so then the mavoi is open to a reshus hayachid, and the shvil will be open to a reshus hayachid. So you'll be allowed to carry in both of them. So what should we do? Amar Abaye, so Abaye says, Heichi navid. What should we do over here? So Rashi says, what do you mean, what should we do? We just learned in the Gemara in Amar Aleph, very simple. Make a opening, make a breach in the wall of this rachba more than 10 amas, and then rebuild the wall and open a house to it. But obviously that's a possibility, but it's a very big tircha to do that. To make such a huge hole in the wall and to open up a house to it. They want to know what could they do in an easier way without that. So how about to make a mechitza by the end of the shvil, by the end of the pathway that goes to the river, make a wall over there. So what's going to be the mile of making the wall over there? This shvil is sort of an extension of the rachba. So if you're going to put up a wall over here at the end of the at the shvil, so because it's an extension of the rachba, that wall is also going to be considered a wall for the rachba itself. So if you put up that wall over there, so then the wall is going to be not only for the shvil, the wall is going to be for the rachba as well. So,
it's going to help. It's still bigger than Beis Hasayim.
No, because once, as we see, the Gemara is going to explain, once you put up a wall that works for the shvil it will work. For the shvil itself, it will work. Once it works for the shvil, it works for the rachba as well. Just a second.
The shvil didn't have a problem; it was enclosed.
Right, you're right. Anachanami, the shvil was already enclosed. Just a second. Okay, so Rashi adds that you're making that mechitza at the Guda Denara with the intention that now the rachba is going to be used for a dira. So it's lachatchila being made to change the status of the rachba, that now you're going to use it as a dira. Until now you did not live there, you did not use it as a dira, but you're making it to change it to be used as a dira. Okay, so he's not putting up a mechitza there, but he's putting up the mechitza to use it as a dira. So the Gemara says, no, you can't do that. Why not? Ein oisen mechitza al gabe mechitza. You can't add a mechitza on top of another mechitza. You have by the nor, it has a drop off of 10 tvachim. So there's already a mechitza in that area because of the height. So to add another wall there, to make another height of 10 tvachim, it doesn't accomplish anything. There's already a mechitza there. Another eitzah. V'levad le tsurasa.
So you could just be hooking from the dira, the rachba.
The rachba itself. No, the rachba itself, you have to open up a wall of 10, more than 10 tvachim. So how about putting up a tzuras HaPesach at the opening of the shvil? This pathway, not by the river, by the opening of the pathway, when it enters from the rachba into the pathway, make a wall right over there. Or at least the tzuras HaPesach right over there. And how does that work? So this shvil shel kramim needs a lechi or a kaira or a tzuras HaPesach in that area. Right now, in this shvil shel kramim, you can't carry. Why not? Because it's only enclosed from 3 areas, and on the 4th side it's open to a rachba. And because it's open to this rachba, which is like a carmelis, on the 4th side, you can't carry in this shul shel kramim. If you put up a tzuras HaPesach at the opening of the shul shel kramim, now you'll be allowed to carry in the shul shel kramim. So because this tzuras HaPesach worked and accomplished something for the shul shel kramim, so this is a significant mechitza that will have an effect also on the status of the rachba itself, because it's a tzuras HaPesach which is right in between the shvil and the rachba. So is that a good eitzah? So the Gemara says it is, but the problem is it's not practical. Osu gemali shadyanle. Camels that pass through in that area are going to throw off this mechitza. The camels pass through this area. They want to get down to the river to drink water. And so it's not a practical eitzah to put up a mechitza over there. So what do? El Amar Abaye. So Abaye says, so you have to make on the other side. Le'evid lechi. Or actually, even on this side itself, levet lechi apischa the shvul shel kramim. So you can't put up a tzuras HaPesach; it's going to block the camels from passing through. So just put up a lechi. And the migu the mahanya l'shvil shel kramim. This lechi, since the lechi works to be mater to carry in the shvil, in the pathway between the vineyards, mahani nami l'rachba. So this lechi will also work to be mater the rachba to carry in the rachba as well. That was what Abaye said. Amalei Rava, so Rava says, no, you can't do this. In Cain, people are going to say, Yoimru lechi moyel l'shvil shel kromim da'alma. People are going to think that just one lechi works in a pathway that's going through vineyards. What's the mistake people will make? So Rashi explains, usually a vineyard that has a shvil that goes through it is open on both ends. If it's open on both ends, a lechi alone doesn't work. You have to have a tzuras HaPesach. We learned, if it's open on both ends, you have to have a tzuras HaPesach on one side and a lechi on the other side. Over here, this is also a shvil that it's open on both ends. Elamai, on the back end, it has a nohar. So therefore, it really is closed off. But people won't realize that. It doesn't have a regular wall in the back. It's open to a river. So if you're going to put a lechi in the front, people are going to think that in every shvil, you're allowed to just put up a lechi and it's enough. So therefore, in such a case, when your back wall is not a regular wall, Rav argues you can't rely on this. So therefore, Rav says you have to put the lechi on the other side. Avdinan lechi lepischa de masa. Put up the lechi on the other side where there's the mavoi, not by the shvil shel kramim. The migu the mahanya lechi lemasa. Since the lechi works to be mater to carry in the mavoi, mahani nami lerachba. So that lechi could also be used to change the status of the rachba to be allowed to carry inside the rachba. And hilkach, so what if you put up that lechi? What's the halacha going to be? Tultuli b'masa gufa shari. So now you have a lechi for your mavoi. You're allowed to carry in your mavoi. Tultuli b'rachba gufa shari. You're also going to be allowed to carry in the rachba, because you put up that lechi with the purpose of being mater the mavoi and also the rachba, so you could carry in the rachba as well. But now the question is, mimasa l'rachba, from the mavoi to this open lot to the rachba, umirachba l'masa, from the rachba to the mavoi, are you allowed to carry from one to another? You're allowed to carry in each place separately, but are you allowed to carry from one to another? Pligiba Rav Ache v'Ravina. So this is a machlokes of Rav Ache and Ravina. Chad asar, v'chad shari. One says that it's asar, and one says it's mutter. And the Gemara explains. Man the shari, the one that says that it's allowed, says why not? The halekid diyurin. There's no one that's actually living in the rachba. If there's no one that's actually living in the rachba, the whole gzeira of Eiruvin chatzeres, when you carry from one area to another, is when you have people living in a house, people living in a chatzer, or there's people that are living in one chatzer, other people that are living in another chatzer, so then you can't carry from one chatzer to another. Over here, you're carrying from the mavoi to the rachba, from the rachba to the mavoi, leked yurin. There's nobody that's living there now in the rachba, so therefore there's no issue. The takana of Eiruvin chatzeres doesn't apply. Man the asar, the one that says that it's not allowed, He holds Zimnin the Havibidiyurin. A Rachba is the area that it could be, potentially, that houses could be opened into this area. If you're going to allow to carry from the Mavi to the Rachba, when a house is going to be open to this area, so now it's going to be an issue, and people are not allowed to carry from the Rachba to the Mavoi, so therefore Chachamim even before this were geyser that you should not be allowed to carry from a Rachba to a Mavoi, and the Gzeir of Eiruvin Chatzeres applies over here as well.